Hey everyone, welcome back to Josh Recap, your go-to channel for full deep dive movie breakdowns that go beyond the surface. Today we're recapping a war drama based on a real person, one whose name was once hated across America. This is American Traitor: The Trial of Axis Sally, a 2021 historical courtroom thriller that dives into one of the most controversial figures of World War II, Mildred Gillars, aka Axis Sally. This isn't your typical war movie, no trenches, no battles, just one woman on trial for treason, and a courtroom wrestling with the question, is she guilty or was she just trying to survive? Let's get into it. We open in the late 1940s, but before we hit the courtroom, let's rewind a few years. Mildred Gillars, played by Meadow Williams, is an American woman trying to build an acting career in Europe. She's struggling, broke, and eventually ends up in Berlin, just as Nazi Germany is rising to power. Soon, she finds work as a radio broadcaster hired by none other than Joseph Goebbels, the head of Nazi propaganda. She becomes the voice of Axis Radio, speaking to American troops overseas, trying to break their spirit with psychological warfare. Soft-spoken, seductive, and deeply unsettling, she tells U.S. soldiers that their girlfriends back home are cheating, that their leaders are lying, and that resistance is futile. She becomes infamous under the nickname Axis Sally. But the real question is, did she believe in the cause? Or was she forced to read Nazi scripts under threat of death? After the fall of Nazi Germany in 1945, Gillars goes into hiding, but not for long. She's captured by Allied forces, extradited to the United States, and charged with treason, one of the most serious crimes in American law. And here's where the movie starts to shift into a heavy courtroom drama. Enter Al Pacino, playing her defense lawyer James Laughlin, a seasoned, cynical attorney who agrees to represent her, not because he likes her, but because he believes everyone deserves a fair trial, even the most hated woman in America. As Mildred sits in jail awaiting trial, the press is ruthless. The public wants her hanged. Politicians call her a monster, but Laughlin is determined to show that there's more to this story than propaganda reels and angry headlines. Through a series of flashbacks, the film slowly reveals how Mildred got involved with the Nazis, and whether she did so willingly. We see her living in Berlin, where jobs are scarce and fear is everywhere. At first, she resists taking part in Nazi broadcasts, but Goebbels, chillingly portrayed, makes it clear, play your part or disappear.
Division who just landed outside Tobruk. Lives wasted for that mental, moral, and physical cripple of a...
One haunting scene shows her being forced to sign a loyalty oath, surrounded by SS officers. Her lover, a fellow broadcaster, convinces her it's the only way to survive. Over time, she's seen recording morale-destroying messages, but she's also watched, manipulated, and abused. Her life becomes a prison, her voice a weapon she no longer controls. But here's the complexity: she still said those words. She still helped the enemy, whether or not she believed it. Back in Washington, D.C., the trial begins. The prosecution paints her as a traitor who chose to betray her country, and they have tapes to prove it. Her broadcasts are played aloud in the courtroom, shocking everyone, but Pacino's Laughlin fires back, making the case that Mildred had no real choice, that her so-called loyalty to the Nazis was a survival mechanism, not a belief system.
Welt als Axis Sally. Bitte begrüßen Sie
Pacino delivers some fiery speeches, pure courtroom cinema, arguing that war twists morality and that judging a woman who lived under a dictatorship with a free nation's standards isn't justice, it's revenge. Meanwhile, Mildred shows signs of deep emotional damage. She's not defiant or arrogant, she's broken, haunted by her past and unsure of her future. As the film reaches its climax, the jury delivers a verdict. We won't spoil the exact outcome here, you'll want to watch it yourself, but what matters more is the question it leaves you with. Did Mildred Gillars deserve to be punished for her role in the war, or was she just another casualty used, discarded, and then prosecuted for trying to stay alive? Even after the verdict, the movie doesn't wrap things up neatly. There's no moment of triumph, no clear heroes or villains, just one woman, caught between propaganda, power, and survival, and a justice system trying to make sense of the damage war leaves behind. Our story centers around Mildred Gillars, a failed actress who left the US for a better life in Europe. Instead, she finds herself in Berlin, just as Hitler's Germany is gearing up for war. Stranded and desperate for work, Mildred ends up as a radio broadcaster for the Nazis, delivering propaganda aimed at American soldiers. She becomes known as Axis Sally, the seductive voice over the airwaves designed to break Allied morale. But here's the kicker: was she a Nazi sympathizer? Or just a woman trying to survive in a brutal regime? Jump to 1948. The war's over, the world is picking up the pieces, and Axis Sally is arrested and brought to Washington, D.C. to face 8 counts of treason. Enter Al Pacino, playing veteran defense attorney James Laughlin, a character who walks into the trial knowing full well he's defending the most hated woman in America. The courtroom scenes are tense and theatrical, filled with cold stares and moral complexity. The prosecution paints Mildred as a traitor who willingly sold her country out, but the defense? They argue she was a pawn, forced, threatened, and manipulated into doing Nazi work. As the trial unfolds, we get flashbacks to wartime Berlin, showing how Mildred was recruited and controlled by Dr. Joseph Goebbels, Hitler's chief of propaganda. These scenes are disturbing, showing how psychological manipulation and fear kept her in line. There's one especially dark moment when Mildred is confronted by the Gestapo and told, "You either read the script or you disappear." That line right there, it sums up her entire moral dilemma. So ask yourself, if you were trapped in a fascist regime, would you do what they say to survive, or would you risk death for your principles? The brilliance of this film is in its moral gray zone. We're watching someone who may have done horrible things, but also may have been a victim of circumstance. Even her relationship with fellow Nazi collaborators feels hollow, more about control than loyalty. At times, Mildred is treated like a pet, a tool, or worse, a hostage. Yet still, she spoke the words. The broadcasts are real, and American soldiers did hear them. No spoilers, but let's just say the final verdict leaves a bitter aftertaste. Whether you think justice was served or not depends on what side of the moral fence you land on. Did she betray her country, or did her country abandon her long before she ever stepped into a Nazi studio? Okay, so here's my final take. American Traitor isn't a fast-paced thriller, it's slow, heavy, and emotionally loaded. Some might find it too dry, especially if you're expecting action or combat scenes, but if you're into complex, morally gray characters and dramas that make you think, this is worth your time. The direction can feel a bit heavy-handed, and the emotional depth relies more on the courtroom than the characters. But it is a conversation starter. It forces us to ask uncomfortable questions about war, patriotism, and the price people pay under pressure. Al Pacino, while definitely in his late career mode, still brings gravitas. Meadow Williams as Mildred, surprisingly compelling. She brings a sense of tragedy and conflict that makes you wrestle with her choices, whether you like her or not. It's a story about choices under pressure and how history sometimes forgets the context in favor of the headline. So what do you think? Was Axis Sally a traitor who deserved what she got? Or was she a woman cornered by war, doing what she had to do? Drop your thoughts in the comments. If you enjoyed this deep dive, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on that bell so you never miss another recap. This is Josh Recap, and I'll see you next time.